Almost every photograph can use some sharpening because the very process of taking a photo from capture to output softens the image. To sharpen this photo, start in the Layers panel and make sure that you have the layer selected that you want to sharpen. Let's zoom in to 100% so we can accurately judge our sharpening settings in the document window. A quick way to zoom to 100% is to go to the Zoom tool in the Tools panel and double-click it. Now go up to the Filter menu and choose Convert for Smart Filters so that you're sharpening in a flexible way that you can change later if you want to. And click OK. Now go back to the Filter menu and choose the Sharpen category of filters. In this category, you'll usually use either Smart Sharpen or Unsharp Mask. Smart Sharpen is similar to Unsharp Mask, except that it offers some more advanced options. So for this tutorial, we'll use Unsharp Mask. By the way, don't be confused by the name Unsharp Mask. It's just a term taken from a process that film photographers used to use. I'll click Unsharp Mask, and that opens the Unsharp Mask dialog box. It's worth taking a minute to set things up so that you can see as much as possible as you sharpen. So move into the image where your cursor changes to a square box like this, and click on an area of detail that you want to make sure is sharp. And that area appears here as a preview in the Unsharp Mask dialog box. You can also move the dialog box by clicking on its title bar and dragging, just to get it out of the way so you can see more of the image in the document window. You'll be using a combination of the 3 sliders in the Unsharp Mask dialog box to sharpen this image. So that you can see what these sliders do, I'm going to start by really exaggerating them, dragging the amount slider way over to the right, and taking the radius slider further over to the right than I normally would too. If you take a look at the image here, you can get a sense of how sharpening works. Photoshop looks for image edges where there are dark pixels next to light, and it exaggerates the contrast at those edges by surrounding the edges with lighter and darker pixels. And these are called halos. You can see the halos here, and there's some here as well. Now you want these halos to do their work of increasing the edge contrast so the image looks sharper overall, but you don't want the halos themselves to be showing. So to get to that result, you'll adjust the amount and radius sliders, which we'll do in a second. But while we have these sliders cranked up so high, let me show you what the threshold slider is for. If you look closely at the image, you'll see that there is some grain showing in the sky. We don't want this grain to get the same sharpening treatment as the other parts of this image. So what we can do is take the threshold slider and drag it to the right. When threshold is at 0, everything in the photo is getting the same sharpening treatment. Dragging it to the right sets a higher threshold for what Photoshop considers an edge, and so doing that removed the sharpening from the sky. Now let's look at the radius slider. What radius does is controls the width of these sharpening halos. In other words, how far out from the edge they go. Let's drag the radius slider to the left to reduce the width of the halos until you can hardly see them. Now let's go to the amount slider, which controls the amount of darkness and lightness in these halos. So I'm going to reduce the amount slider until I think the details are sharp, but the halos aren't obvious. Now, to compare a before and after view in the document window, I'll go to the Preview checkbox and uncheck that. And with Preview checked, the details are sharper. I'll click OK to apply these sharpening settings. Because we did this sharpening with a smart filter, we have the flexibility to reopen the Unsharp Mask dialog box at any time by going to the Layers panel and double-clicking Unsharp Mask there. So those are the basics of sharpening in Photoshop. There are other sharpening methods, but often the Unsharp Mask dialog box is the only thing you'll need to get the job done, and it's a great place to practice your new sharpening skills.